while I started as a patent drafter. So that it has been, quite a journey, quite
Journey.
hops that I did. Yeah, moving from one field to another. So when I wanted to, after 12th, when people generally choose what they want to do, I always wanted to go into communications. But coming from a typical middle class family where parents want you to be either an engineer or a doctor, my parents wanted me to be an engineer. So I said, okay, then I'll take mechanical engineering because IT is a field that I absolutely hate. And it was absolute hate that I never wanted to get into this field. So I did mechanical engineering. As luck would have it, I would say I started as a content writer and somehow got into technical writing, and now I am in IT field for over 17 years now. So that's a summation of my journey.
That's quite a journey. And you mentioned that IT was like a hate hate
Absolutely.
subject. So you
Yeah.
didn't want to get it, but eventually ended up there.
Right, right. So, when you come out of class 12, for you, IT is generally coding. You don't know that there are
Yeah,
tens of other fields or professions that go into the IT.
correct.
So it was that I don't want to get into coding. I don't want to get into coding. That was my only thing. And today I even do coding, even if it is basic SQL MDX, but I still
Hmm.
do that. So yes,
That's
that
interesting.
transformation has happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to you, Nidhi, actually, because, like you said, typical middle class, background. Even my parents wanted me to get into engineering or at least in medical, but I was like, no, I am not doing that. And then the last option was like IT. So I said, I don't want to get into coding. I don't want to sit behind a desk and work on redundant pieces again and again. But then I ended up studying that, and yeah. But then I got this choice that instead of going into coding and development, I got
Mm.
into technical writing. So I can relate to you because we don't have that much awareness about what is possible.
Possible. Correct. Correct.
Yeah,
That's it.
only when you start working you come to know about directions like project management, for example, or product management. So
Right.
yeah, that's the reason why this session is very interesting for me as well, because um, which faces the customers also, but also ties up the team that works on products and bring it all together. So yeah, so Nidhi, what exactly is project management when it comes to these customer facing teams like the professional services and the customer experience and service teams?
Yeah. So generally, Shrutika, I would say, when you are working in your professional life, every task is can be broken into a project. You can have multiple activities
Hmm.
there. But when we particularly talk about professional services and customer success, they are slightly different. So professional services team is generally in a software product company. I'm not talking about the services company, but in a software product company. A professional services team is generally the team which is responsible for your POCs, your implementation, meeting all the success criteria, and just ensuring that everything is well documented. So as a project manager, that is what I do. I lead the PMO at Kaivos. We call it the PMO. But it is not the Prime Minister's office, but the project manager's office. So I am responsible for the complete delivery cycle for customers. So generally, you have project managers in professional services. You have separate people for customer success. But because of lack of resources or whatever, I have been lucky to lead both the functions. So what I do is what I can share is that we start with a POC, which is a proof of concept that you present to your potential customers, your prospects. You show them the value that your product can bring to them. There are obviously certain success criteria that they come up to with, that there's a checklist that you should be able to do this. So you ensure that this is done, and then once that is done, when they are happy, when they are ready to sign the contract, you have to onboard them, which is basically implementing
Hmm.
the solution. So that from there your actual client experience starts. And obviously you want it to be very good. You want your product to be successful. You want your customers to be successful using your product. So then you have to keep a constant eye on what they are trying to do with Kaivos, suggest them relevant options. Are they using it to their full potential? Are they optimized enough to use, get what success it can bring to them? So, and at the end of the day, you have to ensure that everything is documented. That is where obviously my experience as a technical writer comes handy. uh, Everything has to be well documented, because it is a transitional thing, anybody can leave anytime, so that solid set
Mm-hmm.
of documentation has to be there, so that if there are any changes at the client's end, at your end, there is a bible to fall back to. So that is
Mm-hmm.
what goes into professional services and customer success.
Yeah, that's a lot of things coming together actually.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, yes.
so
So,
I
and
mean,
Shritika, I would
mm-hmm.
want to say here that this is my role, because my
Mm-hmm.
company has a lack of resources, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
Not all project managers have to do it all. I do a lot of things as a project manager. As I said, I manage the professional services, I manage the client success, I manage all the compliance and audits, I manage all the RFIs, RFPs that we get for our product. So there's a lot of things that I do which may not entail in every project manager's
Mm-hmm.
role. So don't be scared. Not
Yeah.
everybody will be asked to do all of that.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of determination. It takes a lot of experience. It takes a lot of to uh, bring all of this together, and for a single person to work with such diverse teams. Because from what I understood, based on your explanation, professional services is a complete different, you can say, call it like a company within a company.
Correct,
They have
correct.
their own uh, teams, they have their own processes, they have their own goals. And again, customer success and customer experience teams are again a micro organization within a company. And bringing these two together and managing projects for both of these, it's a lot, from what I am just beginning to understand from your explanation. So what are the top three skills that you think are absolute must haves for your role?
Shrutika, I always say this, and I think Saurabh
Mm-hmm.
also mentioned this, that for me personally, communication is the key. You should
Mm-hmm.
have communication skills. Not that you have to be very good at English or anything, but you have to be very profound in your listening also. You should be able to
Mm-hmm.
listen what the customers are saying and what they are actually not saying. So these are something which is very important. Communication is an absolute must have. uh, don't hold back. If you have questions, ask the customers. If you are in doubt, we are not developers,
Mm-hmm.
so there may be things which we don't know about the product. Go all out, ask your team, internal teams, external teams, everybody. Communication is the key to this. And then,
Mm-hmm.
from communications, another thing which I particularly find useful in my role is that I'm a people's person. So, I form rapport with people. So that also comes in handy. You need to be a people's person. You will be required to build a team, delegate tasks to them. So it is like, you delegate somebody a task to work on a weekend. So you should have a form a relationship with that person, that they look forward to
Mm-hmm.
actually working on a weekend. So that is the level of confidence they should have, your team should have in you, and that is the level of comfort you should have with your team, that you can go and ask them. Other
Mm-hmm.
than that, problem solving, that is something which you absolutely need, because there will be hundreds of issues, problems coming every day. So you have to think of unique, creative ways to solve them. um,
Mm-hmm.
there are things that come from, so in a typical day in a product company, in a software product company, when a salesperson goes out, they sell, I would say, moon and stars to the customers. But when the actual implementation starts, obviously no product is 100% there. So you have to think creatively, you have to think of some unique ideas to work around them, make the customer happy, and ensure that whatever is promised to the customer gets into development quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So as you mentioned, Shrutika, bringing two teams together, is not enough. It is actually bringing 10 teams together if you look at it in the retrospection, because
Correct.
you work with professional services, you work with customer success. Now you get a lot of requests from customers that, it
Hmm.
would be good to have this feature, or we cannot absolutely move without this feature. Then you have to go back to your development team, you have to talk to your management, you have to go to your product teams, you have to enroll them, you have to be a customer advocate, you have to advocate your customers requirements to get them on the table to be developed, whether it is in the next release cycle or two cycles. That is that is how you prioritize things. But you have to get your customers listened to. Then you
Hmm.
have to ensure that it is properly QA'd. Then you have to again, go back to your support team to get it implemented. So there, you are actually working with 10 teams at a time, and it
Yeah.
is not just two. So, and
Yeah.
that's where, your communication, your
Mm,
people skill, they are two most important things that are going to help you in project management. And obviously you have to be organized, you have to document everything. Those, I think, they come inherently to technical writers, so we don't have to think, worry about those skills. And I think as a technical writer also, we form bonds with different teams because we have to get information from
true.
them. Getting information out of SMEs is not easy, so you form those bonds with them, and that helps. And I think that is what has helped me also in this role a lot.
Yeah, that's you said it absolutely right. Being technical writers originally helps, like you said, we have to form bonds. And initially, it may sound like a superficial thing, but then you develop such good bonds with people across
Absolutely.
different teams that it makes your life easy
Yeah,
a bit, and it makes your product better.
exactly. So Shrutika, all companies may have
Hmm.
hundreds of processes, but if you don't enroll people into following those processes, they are just processes on paper. It is
Hmm.
uh, I would give an example of an SBI branch. You go from one counter to another, they will keep sending you from one place to another. But if you have a good bond, they will do your work at their own counter. So
Yeah,
that is how,
that's true
and I
about
think
yeah,
that is the life of a technical writer also.
true.
So that's a very close thing between a technical writer and a project manager, that you have to form bonds with people to get your work done.
True, true, absolutely. So, communication, people skills, and building these relationships where people are willing to, and people not just willing to, people are looking forward to work with you, so that they
Correct.
enjoy doing that. Okay, let's do this, Nidhi. We are going to, we have promised so much to our customers, and we are going to get it delivered to them. That should happen, and that's
Yes.
when it's you can call it a success. So yeah, so I asked a wrong question actually. It's not just three skills. It's a lot of skills. Yeah.
Correct, correct. See, if you start, counting on hands there, then you need
Yeah.
this, you need this. So there are tens, but these are the topmost, I would say.
Topmost, yeah, true, true, true. So, apart from these skills, these are like things that you develop with experience.
Hmm. Hmm.
You start somewhere as a fresher, and then you develop these things, people skills and communication over a period of time. But
Right.
do you think, before we even get into our professional life, do you think, formal education in business administration or project management is necessary to become a project manager? Because from your experience I see that you were a mechanical engineer by education, you are a mechanical engineer by profession, but then for people who want to get into project management right from the beginning, do you think formal education helps?
See, if you want to start directly at a project manager position, that is obviously not possible. Nobody gets into
Mm,
project management right after graduation. Even if you do an MBA, it may not be a thing
mm-hmm,
that you directly get into. So I would say, formal education in management, while it adds to your skill, you may be doing things differently. You may be looking at things differently with that education in your hand. Education obviously always helps, but I would not say that it is a necessity. You can chalk out
mm-hmm.
your way, you can create your own paths, you can keep picking up skills as you go along, but it is never a thing that unless you do an MBA, you cannot get into project management. That is
Mm-hmm.
not a case. And being an MBA does not guarantee a project management job also. So it is actually what you want to do. That is also something, you may not be a successful project manager if it is not something you inherently have. It is not something that you want to do or you enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody likes to work under pressure 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day, 24/7 on calls. Not everybody enjoys that. Not everybody likes that. So it is,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately it comes to you how you want to proceed in your career. But
Mm-hmm.
having an MBA degree definitely adds to your skill. It is not a necessity. I would not say it is a necessity. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any management education.
You have a lot of experience
Yeah, yes,
of working.
yes,
Yeah, that
yeah.
that has actually worked for you,
Absolutely, absolutely.
and
As I said,
brilliantly
you can
worked for
pick
you.
your way. Yeah, you can pick your way from there.
Mm-hmm.
So children now, I see a lot of young kids. They get into BBA plus MBA integrated courses. While it is a very good thing to do, it opens a lot of options for you. It does not guarantee a job in a project
Mm-hmm.
management field. Youngsters who are just out of class 12 may not even know what is project management. So,
True.
for them, it is just a fancy word. So that is, I wouldn't say that it is necessary to have a management
Mm-hmm.
education, but obviously it helps. It adds to your skill. It adds to your resume. It may add to your pay package, but it is not a necessity.
Okay, got it. So basically, people need to have that bend of mind also to,
Correct.
you know,
Correct.
get into.
Right.
So we'll take a little pause here to get to some questions
Yeah.
which we received in the registrations, and then
Absolutely.
we'll resume with our conversation. So
Sure.
most of these questions are related to education. Uh,
Okay.
so most people have asked, actually 4, 5, yes, around 5 to 7 people have asked. Um, is it necessary to be from a technical background to transition from technical writing to technical project manager management role?
I again, I would not say it is an absolute must. It does help,
Hmm.
you know. And what I feel is, as technical writers, we are people who know our product, we know our services
True.
better than most of the people. Most of the other managers, I would say. We have worked
Hmm.
on those services. We have worked on the product, so we know it in and out. For us, it is very easy to transition into a project manager. And uh, generally I see that technical writers,
Hmm.
even if you don't have a technical engineering or BSc background, you pick those skills while working on your documentation. So it all
True.
it all grows organically on you. You pick up those skills, you start climbing onto that, and
Hmm.
it becomes a part of your work. And I think it helps you to have a technical background. It is
Hmm.
easier to pick up concepts if you have a technical background. But once you are a technical writer, that technical background or no background, that doesn't matter. Then you can easily
Correct.
transition to a project manager if you have that bent of mind and you want to do it.
Hmm. Got it. So the next question, next three questions actually are exact, more or less about the same thing. Are there
Mhm.
any certifications available for becoming project managers? And if doing a PMP helps, or are there any not industry certifications, but are there any online or offline courses which probably you might advise if someone comes to you?
Yeah, so PMP is one, Prince two, ITIL is
Hmm.
particularly for IT industry. There,
Yeah.
then being a Scrum Masters, or there are tens of certifications that you can pick. Uh, I would generally recommend people to start with PMP. It builds your base, and then you can go on from there. uh, I have
Hmm.
not done it yet. It is one of my goals to do it this year. I am more into ITIL side, but
Hmm.
PMP, Prince 2, ITIL. Then there are a lot of project management small courses on Udemy that you can pick up. You just want to
Hmm.
know what is project management. You may have heard it from different people that this person transitioned to project management, or can I be a project manager or something. They are, see, as technical writers, if not officially, you are all managing projects as is. It
Yeah.
is just that you don't have that official designation, but you are managing all the requirements. You then meet with tens of people, you get the understanding, you write it, then you review it, proofread it, then you get it published. So it is a project in itself. And most of the people who are in team lead or manager role as technical
Mm-hmm.
writers, they are already doing it. So picking up a certification, particularly any of these, is definitely helpful. And Shrutika, sometimes I feel
Mm-hmm.
that because I don't have that formal, PMP or ITIL course or something, there are things that don't come naturally to me. There are things which
Mm-hmm.
I have to search on, which I have to work on. Uh, a very small example, the other day I was asked to prepare a risk matrix, and I didn't know what's a risk matrix. So,
Mm-hmm.
because it was something which I've not studied, which obviously is taught in these, management courses that you do. And I didn't know what it is. So, I had to spend half a day, learn what is a risk matrix, adapt it to our world that, okay, this is how our company functions, this is how our customers function, this is what a risk matrix for us would look like.
Mm-hmm.
Had I had that formal education, had I taken up those courses, it may not have taken me more than 10-15 minutes to create it. But because I did not have, I had to spend half day. Although it did
Mm-hmm.
add to me my skill also, that I spent the day, I understood, I learned. But I feel if I would have done those courses, it would not have taken that time. So
True.
courses, if you have the
Mm-hmm.
bandwidth, if you have the time, if you want to do it, definitely go for them. And as I said, education, learning should never stop, and it is something that adds to your skills always. So it is never कि अब बहुत हो गया अब आगे जरूरत नहीं. It is always that you have
True.
to keep learning, you have to keep learning. So
Yeah.
that's I absolutely recommend people to do these courses. And
Mm-hmm.
if you want to get into project management, you should definitely do it.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Nidhi. So, everyone who asked these questions, I hope your questions and doubts about going for these certifications are now solved. I also understand that some of these certifications, especially PMP and ITIL, are quite intense in terms of the work you need to put into it, the number of hours that you need to put into the studies. And I am not too sure about the expenses, but all of you who have these questions, like Nidhi said, they definitely help. So if you are working towards your goals to become a project manager or get into management for products, definitely, like Nidhi said, these courses will add. And like she said, learning can never harm. It will only add to your resume, your skill set. All right. So the next question that I have for you, Nidhi, is a little bit of knowing your day-to-day routine. So what are the typical tasks that you do, say on a very normal kind of day, not a day where you are hurrying to, or you have a very critical request and you have to work on it. On a normal typical day, what are the tasks that a project manager does?
Um, so, for a project, everything starts with a plan. So,
Mm-hmm.
generally, typically, all my mornings, we have obviously multiple meetings we do have, but then we create a strategy or a plan, break down into
Mm-hmm.
granular action items that this is to be done, this is to be done, this is to be done. Then you assign those tasks to people. Obviously you cannot do everything yourself, so you delegate those tasks, and then you have to monitor and ensure that it is being done. It is not just being done for the sake of being done, but the quality is ensured. That is there. And then because I work in customer success also, so I have to talk to them, understand their new requests, if there are any support tickets which they have still not got resolved, or if there are any issues that they are facing. Those meetings also I have. Then I have to ensure they are quickly resolved, they are happy. And again, at the end of everything, documentation. That project plan has to be documented, that status has to be documented, whether it is in form of Excel sheets, whether you want to present a PPT, whatever you make, but just document everything. So, 40% of my life is still into documentation. I'm still working, creating a lot of documents. But planning, strategizing, delegating. Some of the things you have to do yourself also, communicating, keeping everybody updated on what is happening in the project. So they are typical things that I do on a
Mm-hmm.
daily basis.
Yeah, and these, although these are, the usual things that a project manager does throughout a day, I guess it involves everyone, a lot of
Yeah,
people. No,
absolutely.
so who are all these people with whom you work the most closely?
I would say everyone should. From
Yeah, true.
development to QA to release to support, I just work with all of them. Same,
Mm-hmm.
as I said, you have to be a people's person to get your work done as a project manager. Typically, you get up, sit on your system, you see, okay, there is an escalation from one of the customers. You have to check
Mm-hmm.
with support. Why was this not resolved? Support tells, okay, our product does not have that feature. Then you go to the development team. What will it take to have this feature? Then you talk to the product management team that we should have this feature. Then you convince them. They are okay, let's do it. Then you go back to the development team. Okay, this is the plan. You have to give it this as a patch in next 15 days. Then you enroll the QA that, okay, you will get this patch in 15 days. You have to test it. You have to certify it in the next 7 days. Then you go back to support that, okay, in the next 3 weeks I will have this for you. Then you have to implement it on the customer. So this is all you have done internally. Then you go back to your customer and tell them that, sorry, we don't have it, we don't support it. In the next three
Mm-hmm.
weeks you will have it. In the next 4 weeks you will have it. You onboard them that such that they are looking forward to those 4 weeks of
Mm-hmm.
working with you. So it is working with
Yeah,
everybody, and then you have to answer
everybody.
your management also. Why was there this escalation? So there
Mm-hmm.
are,
True.
as I said, everybody. You have to work with everybody as a project manager.
Everybody. Yeah, and this sounds like multiple projects every single day, not just one
Exactly.
project that you are managing.
Correct, correct, correct. And that's why I said, you have to break it down into action items. You have to,
Mm-hmm.
even if it is a simple Excel that you mention, this is the action, this is the owner. But you should have that. See, obviously our brain is limited capacity. You just cannot remember everything that I had given this task to this person. You need to have a start date, you need to have an end date, and you have to have an owner identified to keep a track of all these things that are happening around you. And particularly, when you have so many customers, so many items that are being worked upon,
Mm-hmm.
there is no humanly possible way to remember them all. So just put
Correct.
it all on a document, either if it is an Excel or a PPT or a Word, whatever, however you want to do it, just do it. And then there is this concept of daily stand-ups in Scrum.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure most of people who work in Scrum or Agile may know about it. So similar thing we also do in project management. I have a daily call with all my teams, and I take a stock of the situation, what is happening at which customer. And as I work in customer success, expansion into customer accounts is also a part of my job. So I have to
Okay.
identify, how you can expand. If Then you have to ensure there are no refusals at the time of renewals. So it is a slight transition where your project management role is also into sales, that you ensure that you get the money from them, but just to keep them happy throughout the year, so that they are happy to give that money at the end of the year to get it
And
renewed for next
true.
year. So those things, everything comes into my role. All of this I work on. And again, not everybody may be required to do all this as a project manager,
Mm-hmm.
but you may be a project manager of any of these functions. So
Mm-hmm.
it all can come to you anytime.
Yeah. So it's a lot of this is subjective also, and a lot of this is general also. So a project manager needs to have be able to do all of these things, but may not necessarily be
Correct.
needed to
Be
do all of
required to
these
do it.
things.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Correct. Correct.
project plan, Shrutika, is a very important
Mm-hmm.
document. I'm sure as technical writers, we understand that importance of document, which other people in the organization may not understand. And
True.
this project plan is one such document that you absolutely need to have. Just break down tasks so that you know who is doing what. At the end of the day, you
Mm-hmm.
can go back to that person and ask them, what is it that you have done? Is it done, not done? At least you will know the progress of the project, how it is going.
True, true. Okay, so we understood a lot about what is project management, what is the day-to-day routine of project managers, and a lot about the profession in general, and a lot in depth also. You explained a lot about it. So let's talk about the transition a little bit, because we are all, including me, we are all interested in understanding what at what point in your career did you decide to transition, or was it organically, something that happened organically? How did you identify that, okay, now is the time to transition?
Shrutika, for me, it all happened organically. I was working
Mm-hmm.
as a technical writer. Then I moved to a managerial role. And as I said earlier, also due to lack of resources, I was taking care of a lot of things. I
Mm-hmm.
was creating sales collateral, marketing stuff. I was looking after all the compliance and audits. So it was all a natural progression. And then
Mm-hmm.
there was a time when I realized that I'm managing so many projects, I'm doing so much, so why not get into it officially. And I went to my manager, and yeah, and I have been fortunate to be working with a very nice manager. And I spoke to him and I asked him that I don't want to be a writer anymore, but I want to get into something where the all the management thing, all the things that I'm doing here right now are officially recognized. So he suggested that, okay, we can give you a designation of this, but you would be responsible for doing these other tasks also. Are you game for it? And at that time, I was like, yeah, again, it is already going to increase my burden. And one thing was very clear, that you cannot leave documentation because we don't have any other supervisor for them. So you still have to continue to supervise the documentation team, but you can take this as an additional responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. Initial 6 months were very tough. Thankfully, we were working from home. I was working 15, 16 hours a day. It was a very, I would say challenging time, but it was a time where I was also picking up things. I wanted to know how everything functions. And because of the time zone thing, all our clients are in the US. Our sales team is in the US. So I had to work nights to understand their world, get into their shoes, and get to know what exactly they need and everything. But then things started settling. Now I have proper teams set up. I have a team in the US with whom I have a stand up daily. They give me their updates and everything. So it's settled, but it all happened organically. I would not say there was any trigger point or anything that said that no, I want to get into this now. But it was just that I had reached a level where I felt that uh, there's nothing new in documentation that is coming up. When I joined this organization 5 years back, we had zero documentation. All
Mm-hmm.
documentation that we had was small feature descriptions written by the developers
Mm-hmm.
itself. So then the next 2 years, and I was the sole writer there. So the next 2 years I spent in creating the whole help system. We
Mm-hmm.
sourced in Confluence, we did everything. And then the next 2 years I improvised, I added videos, all those things. And then I was like, "Ki, ab kya karu? There's nothing more."
Mm-hmm.
I know there may have been improvements that I may have been able to build, but I did not want to. I was just, I would say, bored of doing the same thing again and again, again and again.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, why not move out of this? And but I've still not moved. As I said, I am still the manager for technical
Mm-hmm.
documentation also. That is also a department that I am heading. So I supervise them all the releases
Mm-hmm.
go through me only. So that is there. Um, but yes, it all happened organically. No trigger points.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Nidhi, you mentioned that you are still, looking after documentation as well. So,
Yeah.
how do these experiences influence each other? As in documentation, how does your project management experience influence, and vice versa? How do these help each other? Because you are in a dual role.
Yeah. So Shruti, when I was just a technical writer, when I was a technical writer
Mm-hmm.
at that time, and I have always been an individual contributor. While I had the designation of a manager, while I had a designation of assistant manager sometime back,
Mm-hmm.
so I was still the individual contributor. I was still writing myself. At that time,
Mm-hmm.
the mindset, generally the mindset that we had was to explain the product. That okay, the product is
Mm-hmm.
developed, now explain it. Now that I work with the customers, I understand that there are shortcomings. That explanation is not complete. There are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
assumptions that we did as technical writers, and we all do, that okay, the client would know this, okay, the customer would know this, or sometimes it is overfeeding. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a very very good example. Your customer asks, "Does your fan work clockwise?" You can say yes, it moves clockwise, and just stop at it.
Mm-hmm.
Other may say yes, it works clockwise, it has a motor, it moves like this happens, this happens, this happens, and they will go on. So that's overfeeding. The client is not asking, but you are overfeeding
Mm-hmm.
them. So those two things, underfeeding, overfeeding, both of these things, now that I work in a client servicing role, I understand that. So I now, my team of technical writers, the instructions, or the reviews when I
Mm-hmm.
give, that is also one thing that I see. So that is how, project management is helping me in a technical writing thing. But being a technical writer has helped me becoming a good project manager. uh,
Mm-hmm.
the reason that I was a technical writer, I knew the product in and out. So I was, unofficial level 1 SME for anything which
Uh-huh.
is, technical, that has to be a sales brochure or a marketing collateral, PRs, or if there's an
Mm-hmm.
RFI, everything came to me. So I had to do it all. Now, for working on all those things, I built very good relationship with people within the company,
Mm-hmm.
and I work in geographically totally different location. Most of my team has been and it is not pre-COVID or post-COVID. It has always been pre-COVID also. Most of my team has been in Indore. I was the only person from the team who works from Noida office. So
Mm-hmm.
even at that time, we were working on Teams and phone calls only. I had built those relationships with those people that even today, when as a project manager I am stuck or I need something, I go back to them. Because of our rapport,
Mm-hmm.
they do it quickly. So I would actually say that being a technical writer has actually helped me a lot, being a good project manager, and obviously vice versa. That has
Vice
opened a
versa.
new, yeah, new perspective of client servicing, that has brought into automation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Nidhi, a lot of our conversation in we have been throughout our conversation we have been talking about relationship building and people skills, and just now you mentioned that even before this whole work from home situation, you were coordinating and you were working with your team on phone calls and Teams calls.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have been facing this trouble. So when people were in office, they used to see each other, they used to form bonds, and they used to get to know each other during coffee breaks or lunch breaks. That doesn't happen anymore. So how did you manage this, to all of this relationship building? Because that's one of the most important things
Yeah.
for even for a technical writer as well as for project managers. How did you work on these in a
So,
virtual environment?
Shrutika, I love talking. I talk a lot. And as I said, I'm a people's person. I cannot work in
Mm-hmm.
isolation. So that is my, nature, I would say. Not everybody is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So one is you talk to people, you build that rapport with them, and I go beyond your professional things. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
a very good thing that I learned from one of my previous CEOs is he remembered our kid's name.
Oh,
He was based in US.
interesting. Yeah.
He was based in US. Whenever he used to come to India, he used to meet people. We were a small team of 80 people, not a very huge team. But then also, remembering their children's name. You remember your people, you remember their spouse's name still. But remembering that, okay, your kid is in that class or your kid is named this, that brought a personal connect I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I was very junior at that time when I'm telling you this. It was what, uh, 2008 9 that I'm talking about. So I was very junior at
Mm-hmm.
that time. And at that time, when a person that senior comes and talks and asks, okay, you were going for that movie, how was it? Or, so those they bring a
Mm-hmm.
personal rapport. So next time when you have something to ask them, even if it is professional, you don't hesitate. You go and talk to them.
Correct.
So, while being professional, building a professional relationship is very important, but as technical writers, as project managers, building personal rapport is more important. As I
Mm-hmm.
said, there are processes which are in place, but then they are like SBI window system. You go from one place to another. But having that, it may not be the best thing. Everybody should, ideally, in an ideal organization, if you ask an SME for information, they should be forthcoming. They should give it to you, and you should get going.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't happen. That is the real life scenario. So to build the relation, I think having, personal connect with people, just talk to them when you start a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Spend 1 or 2 minutes talking about their day, or what you did on the weekend. How was this movie? What is your kid doing these days? So those things, they
Mm-hmm.
help you build a personal relationship with people, and that really helps.
True. True. That's a very good point you made actually, because when, like I said, when you work from office, you get to see the person, you get
Correct.
to know what's happening in that person's life. When it's a virtual
Right.
environment, you just there's a wall in between.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a very good point you made. So everyone here in this conversation, Puneet also mentioned in the beginning, we encourage talking and we encourage building that uh, connect with
Absolutely.
people.
Absolutely. You
So
just talk
I'll
to people,
hmm,
know what
yes,
their
yes,
lives
absolutely.
are beyond uh, work. That
Hmm.
helps.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Nidhi, it's not everyone is not comfortable doing that, but we need to start at some point.
See, as I said, I
Yeah.
am very talkative, not everybody else is. But
Yes, correct.
to get your work done, you have to build
You
some
have
kind of
to.
that skill.
Correct.
Some people may be very introvert, they may not want to talk, they may want to just shoot off an email and wait for the response. You send out an email,
Mm,
just ping that person on Teams or call them.
mm,
Just, hey, I've sent you an email, can you have a look at it? I know you're busy. That helps, that know that you
helps.
are following, and you talk to that person. So generally when you are in office, what happens is, even if you've sent an email, you just walk up to their cubicle and you ask them that
True.
you look at it. So similarly, you can do this also. Just
Mm,
pick up a phone,
correct.
or ping him on Teams,
Mm,
ask them. So those things help. And Shruti, this started when
mm-hmm.
COVID. A lot of teams I saw, they had Friday connects, weekly connects, monthly
Yeah.
connects. They used to sit and talk. Initially, 4 or 5 weeks, it was, there was a lot to talk, discuss, and then it all died down because everybody was so busy in their work.
Busy.
So, and they're not, these things are not sustainable unless, there are
Mm,
20 people sitting on a screen. You are looking at 20 people, only two or three talk, all others are passive listeners. How do you get them to
true.
talk? Is by connecting to them individually.
True.
Two of my teammates, they've just joined back from their maternity leave. So, just asking them their kid's name, or
Mm,
for one of a person, his father had a heart attack recently. So you just ask him that, is he recovered? What medicines is he taking? Is he seeing this doctor?
mm,
That brings that bond that, okay, you are connected to them, and you are bothered about their
mm.
personal life also. And this is, Shruti, I would say this is something that I have been fortunate to work with such people. uh, in COVID, in the first wave itself, a whole of my family was infected, and we lost one of my uncles also. So I
Mm,
got a call from my CEO, who is the current head of Impetus Group of Companies, Praveen Kankaria. He called me and he talked to me that, Nidhi, just see, COVID was a very, scary term, even today it
true.
is. But at that time, in first wave, it was, unheard of. And then death in a family was a very big thing. And the way it was just a, what I would say, 3 or 4 minutes call, but it had left that impact that you have to form such bond with your team also. So it all
True.
flows from the top, but form your bonds, not just get restricted to one or two people. So generally what happens is, as technical writers, we get this habit that okay, we have to get some information from the dev team. There are 11 people. Out of those 11, these two are my friends. I'll get this information from these two. No,
Mm-hmm.
form bond with all 11 of them, so that whenever you need help, all of them are forthcoming and all of them
Mm.
help you. It is, I don't want, I won't say that just go and start talking anything and everything, but small
Mm-hmm.
conversations, small talk, just about weather, even, next vacation, anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk and become
True.
friends.
Yeah, that's I think the most important skill. Now, when I had asked about top three skills, but I think most important is this, forming a connect, and not just a connect for your professional things, but in general, let the other person know that you care
Right, right.
about these things. All right, so Nidhi, I'll take a pause here because we have other questions from the registrations. So people are asking that in the same organization, if a technical writer finds an opportunity or growth path, how do they communicate with with the development manager or their manager? So like you spoke to your manager, and fortunately you have a really good team, you have a really good manager, so you were able to communicate your goals and or your expectations. So in general, assuming that it's not the same everywhere, how what would you advise?
See, there are two things, Shruti. As you said, it is not the same everywhere. Now you have two
Mm-hmm.
options. One is you transition into the role in your current organization. Second is you take up courses, pick up skills, and then you find a new job.
Mm-hmm.
So
New
you have
job.
these two paths. You can take any of those. Now, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
transition within the same organization, I know most of the organization work on very thin staff of technical writers. So letting go of a technical
Yeah.
writer is not easy. Finding another one is
Mm.
even difficult. Finding a replacement is even difficult.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have that dependency on you, that and no manager would want
Mm-hmm.
to let go of their resources. So one is, if you can, try to build a backup
Mm-hmm.
while you are picking up the skills. If you are not able
Mm-hmm.
to, then have a clear communication with your manager, with your HR, whatever process you have in your
Yeah.
organization, that this is something which I want to do. But
Mm.
before you actually jump into that, understand what will come to your plate. uh, it may sound,
True.
it may sound a little scary, but project management may sound fancy. Getting there, you should know what project manager does in your organization. If there are no project managers, then you are going to get into even more trouble, because you will be the first one to set it all up. So
Yeah.
understand what you are getting into, and then talk to your manager, talk to the, if there is another team which looks after that, talk to those people, understand from them what they do on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have a vacancy? Do they need help? Some, and start helping unofficially, start working unofficially. Once you feel that you have enough experience, or enough, then talk to your manager. And the second path is, again, that line is always open. You do your courses. That is an investment that you do for yourself. You invest in courses, pick up skills, find a new job, and go about your way. Any of these two. I have been fortunate to have
Mm-hmm.
good managers who help them, but not everyone is that lucky. So then for you,
Yeah.
second option is. But and on the another side, Shrutika, even if you don't have
Mm-hmm.
a very supporting manager, if you are able to enroll that person, that okay, why you should
Mm-hmm.
get into project management role, you have gone a
Mm-hmm.
half the battle. Because that is what you have to do as a project manager. You have to enroll people. You should have those skills. So if you are
True.
able to enroll somebody who is not willing, that is your first achievement. That is your first win. as a project manager, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. Um, that's again, it boils down to communication and selling yourself also and your skills also. You should be able to market your skills that yes, I am able to do this, and this is what we can achieve together if I get into this role. That's very important. So there is a follow-up question, Nidhi, about this. Somebody has asked that when you transition into a new role, do we have to start from scratch? I believe the person is trying to ask about the overall designation and everything. I mean, how does it work?
See, it depends from company to company, what
Hmm.
level or what grade they give to you. Generally, it should not happen. Generally, and if you are talking about scratch in terms of work, then yes. You don't know that world. It is just something that you are looking from outside, and it may seem very interesting that you want to get into it. The inside realities may not be that easy.
Mm, true.
So, as technical writer, we just write, we publish, and we are done. Now we don't care what is
Hmm.
happening. But
Hmm.
as a project manager, you would be responsible for everything and anything. So that you have to take into consideration, and then you have to learn. And there are a lot of things that you have to unlearn also. So,
Yeah.
it happens both ways. There are new things that you have to pick, you have to understand, and there are things which you have to let go of, which you have been doing something that you have to unlearn. As I said,
True.
overfeeding, underfeeding that I was doing, I
Yeah.
had to unlearn a lot of it. And then this is how we have been writing. This is how we do. That has to change. So a very small example, coming from technical background. So generally, when you
Hmm.
send out a document to a customer, every company has a fixed template that you follow,
Hmm.
whether in terms of formatting and in terms of heading, everything you follow. As technical writers, you follow that. Now as project manager also, if you keep following that, you may not be able to make some breakthrough, because
Hmm.
those kind of documents the client already has. They've already seen them. What new you
Hmm.
are bringing, what is the value that you are adding. So you have to unlearn those things. You have to learn new things to present the same information in some more interesting manner. So that has to happen. And then
Hmm.
you have to learn. I would say, you have to start from scratch. You have to learn everything that is going on in your project, how you have to handle it. You have to find a path for yourself. If you are lucky enough to have good people around you, they will obviously help you carve that path. But if not, then you
Hmm.
have to learn everything from scratch.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
designation wise, I would not be able to comment, because that changes or differs from company to company.
Hmm.
So that's a
Yeah.
different.
True. True. Got it. Got it. Thank you, Nidhi, for taking this in between questions. So, one of the or rather I'll say that a tougher question question for you now. So I see that you enjoy your work a lot, Nidhi. From your conversation, the way you're lighting up and you talk about your work, I can very well see that you enjoy doing it. But what are the challenges that you faced? What is the biggest challenge that you faced? You decided that okay, I want to get into project management, and like you said, you understood that there's a lot of stuff that you need to do. But what was the biggest challenge that you faced?
Coding. I said I absolutely hated it, and now we had one of the our POCs. I was very new into this role, and we
Hmm.
had one of our POCs around Diwali. Most of my team was on leave, and Diwali leaves are planned well ahead in advance.
Hmm.
You cannot ask anybody, and as a person, I could not ask anybody, yeah, don't go on a leave. So I said, okay, I'll do this POC myself, and very enthusiastically, I was okay. I made the project plan and everything, and then it all came to, oh god, now I have to write this code myself.
Good.
That was a challenge. That was the first challenge that I had.
Hmm.
So okay, did it, and happened. I took help from a lot of team members. Again, being very lucky with the team here. I was on calls with them. they were out shopping and still on call with me, telling me how to do it, check this, tell that. So that happened. Then, as I said earlier also, that as a technical writer, I was helping fill the RFIs, RFPs. So RFPs are basically your request for information, that generally when you sign a
Mm-hmm.
contract with another company, they send this out. So they are generally huge, 100
Yeah.
question uh, Excel sheets, or you maybe have to fill on their portals. So as a technical writer, what I was doing was just filling out the technical side of that. So which was
Mm-hmm.
like 50 questions out of those 200 questions. Now as a
Mm-hmm.
project manager, I had to fill all of those. I had to chase people, to get answers to those 200 questions. I had to ensure that they are uploaded in time. So these, as I said,
Mm-hmm.
anticipate what is coming your way. As a project manager, you would not know what you may land up with.
You won't know
So
what hit you.
you what will come your way, that changes from organization to organization. Some organizations are very
Mm-hmm.
well structured, well defined, that okay, these are the five things that the project manager would do. But in an organization like mine, where I am working, there are no clear boundaries of any role.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody does everything.
Eh,
So that is one thing, I would say, that challenges that I've had.
mhm. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, eventually you had to get your hands dirty in code.
I have still not gotten into Java or other things. I'm still restricted to. I'm happy doing SQL MDX. I
Uh-huh.
still don't intend to get into the hardcore stuff now. But who
I
knows?
hope that yeah, I hope that whenever you get to do that, you enjoy it just the way you enjoy your work. So
I
at the
hope
moment,
so
yeah,
too. I hope so too. As I said, who knows what's next?
yeah. Who knows what's next? All right. So now, a trick question for you actually. We talked
Mhm.
about your challenges,
Mhm.
and coding won the vote for challenge.
Mhm.
What is it that excites you the most about your work?
Talking to people, Shraddha, as you can see that I just love talking. I enjoy talking to
Uh-huh.
people. So that is something which I really enjoy. I like
Mm-hmm.
talking to people. And I see myself transitioning towards the delivery side, because I can form
Mm-hmm.
that bond with the customers. I talk to them, get their requests, understand their world. And again, I form personal bonds with the customer side also. So that is something which I really like about this role.
Mm-hmm.
It takes
It,
off on the pressure, while you are creating a project plan. If you're talking to two three people and just working on things together, it helps lighten up things.
True. So most people that I know I have worked or I have worked with, they dread talking to the customers.
Hmm.
They absolutely are scared. Okay, there is a client call. Okay, I'm going to talk to the customer. What will happen? I don't know how will it go. And in that fear, many times it happens that they end up missing that conversation because they forget probably that at the other end there's a human being sitting. So I guess that what I understand from all that you shared today, forming that bond, again, it boils down to that.
One is forming the bond, Shrutika. I would say
Hmm.
customers are unnecessarily demonized. They
Yes.
are, see,
Yeah.
understand when you have a problem with Mintra, then only you
Hmm.
will call and shout on their help people. Then only you will call and shout on their customer support executives. Otherwise, you are happy doing getting your stuff on time. Everything is fine. The moment there is an issue in some delivery or an order, that is
Hmm.
only when you actually reach out to them. So one is, get this out of your head. Customers are not demons. They are all humans who are struggling with something. Understand what their struggle is. That would ease things. And another very
Hmm.
very important thing, which I tell everybody who goes into a customer call, is keep a list of things you have to talk. So generally what happens is,
Mhm.
when you go into, as and you Shrutika rightly said, people forget what they have to
Mhm.
do, what they have to talk about. You don't have to present a PPT. You don't have to do anything. Just pen of paper, write that these are the 5 points I have to talk about. If you are still, not very confident, write a script. Just write it down that this is all that I will say.
Mhm.
Obviously, you cannot anticipate what the other person would ask, but if you are in a client call to discuss some feature, to discuss some support issue that they are having, just be prepared on your part. Never go to any meeting unprepared, and that goes for everybody, whether you are a project manager, whether you are a technical writer. Never go to any meeting unprepared. Always be prepared for meetings. Always, have a clear cut agenda set for the meeting. Put your points uh, on a pen, sheet of paper or an Excel sheet, wherever you are comfortable doing it.
Mhm.
Just put those points. I want to discuss these four features. For this feature, these are the main things that I want to talk about. For this feature, these are the main things that I want.
Mhm.
Keep that in front of your eyes so that you don't forget. And with time, you will become confident. You will stop dreading those client calls, and you'll
Mhm.
be good to go. So that is a
Mhm.
good way to go about client calls. Stop demonizing clients. They're not they're not
Yeah.
going to limit you in those meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that we understand it from you, because Nidhi, you have worked with them, it makes sense. Otherwise, say most technical writers never even get to know who are their customers. Most
Correct.
technical writers.
Correct.
So I guess when an issue happens, and it rarely happens that something gets escalated for documentation unless it's
Correct.
something glaringly wrong. But
Right.
when that happens, I have seen people a complete curled up ball of nerves.
Ball of nerves, yeah, that happens.
Yeah, ball
See,
of nerves.
you've made a mistake. You've made a mistake. Happens.
Hmm.
Happens with everybody. We are all humans. It happens. We make mistakes. Be forthcoming. Be accepting of your mistakes. You can always
Yeah,
take a corrective action. So थोड़ी सी डांट पड़ेगी, it's okay. But
yeah, true.
as understand their world, being a customer, you are trying to do something.
Hmm.
Your instructions are not clear enough. Obviously, you will have that frustration, and you will
Hmm.
obviously go to the company. You will tell them that what have you said, this is not working. So that happens. Understand
Correct.
their world, and then you will stop being frightened of them. You will be more, start working
Yeah,
as partners. So then things become easy.
yeah, true. True. That was such a great conversation so far. And Nidhi, I would have loved to keep talking to you, and of course that works for me because you enjoy talking too. So I would have loved keep to continue this conversation, but yeah, we will soon run out of time, and I don't want that to happen. So before is you have already shared a lot of insight and lot of advice, but if you have to give one extremely important and must do kind of advice for all our audiences, people here that have joined us, what would that be? Someone looking to transition from technical writing to project management.
See, there are multiple fields that you can transition to. Take up something which you find interesting. Just because Nidhi went into project management doesn't mean you
Hmm,
should go into project management too. I have
true.
people transitioning successfully to QA role. I have seen people transitioning to sales teams. Then there is this whole field of UI UX development that you can get into. Just do what you enjoy doing. Don't if you see that there's stagnation coming in, or if you see that you're not enjoying your role as a technical writer anymore, just take charge, move things around, and
Mhm.
most importantly, never stop learning and growing. So that is something which is very important. As we work on products or services, we understand what it is. Someone may actually enjoying that, oh, coding is good. Get into that, get into development. Why do you want to go into a non-dev role or a non-tech role? And if you think that technical roles are not your cup of tea, then again there are hundreds of roles that you can get into: marketing, sales, project management. customer success, anything. There are so many things that we can transition to. And the biggest, strength of a technical writer is that we know the product better than a lot of people. So that helps a lot.
That's a very good point you have made many times today during the conversation, Nidhi. As technical writers, we have a lot of more exposure than other people. Say, for example, a developer who works on a feature knows that feature and how it works with the product, but
Correct.
they don't know how everything, all the other features come together to make the
Absolutely.
product work, which
Absolutely.
technical writers know.
No.
We
Yes.
may not know the technical part of it, what happens in the background, but we
Correct.
do know how the uh, product works with all the features together. So that's a
Correct.
very important point that you have been making, and I hope everybody here in the audience is, please keep a note. Don't take technical writing like, okay, I am into technical writing, but it's not a hip and happening field, so I need to transition. No, I think that we are unicorns actually. We can do everything.
Absolutely, I would say that you can transition into any field. And even if not transitioning into a new role, there are hundreds of things that we can do as technical writers. Just
Yeah.
explore that, make a place for yourself that you can do 10 other things. Recently, one of my writers, they transitioned into learning team. So that's again a
Hmm.
very, good. They had interest in graphics, so he took upon a few courses, he started doing it, then he worked on articulate, and then he said that, okay, I want to take up learning. So he did that. So you can transition also, you can find new avenues within technical writing also, but it should always be something that interests you, that's something that you enjoy doing.
True.
Before stepping into anything, just be mindful of what may be coming your way,
Yeah. True.
sitting as a technical writer, you may find, and it is a typical, thing that drives people, and it should be also, is the money that you make,
Mm.
so as a technical writer, you may feel that, yeah, developer is earning so much, I am not getting that money, let me get into development. It is not
Yeah.
easy being a developer, and vice versa, vice
Yeah.
versa.
True.
you know
True.
so while looking at the greener pasture on the other side is lucrative, but be mindful of what may be coming to your way, whether you will actually enjoy it or not, and then they make a wise decision whether you want to go into that or not. And that happened with me also, when I moved to project management. The initial 6 months, at the end of, I think, 1 or 2 months, I was like, "Ye maine kya kar liya? Where have I come? Why have I come?" That is the feeling that I had. But I knew that I'll, find my way, and
Mhm.
I'm happy doing it now. But that happens with a lot of people. So
True.
just know, cover everything before you make that leap, and just go
Yeah.
with what you enjoy doing.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nidhi. That was so much of insight and advice packed into just 1 hour. So I can't even imagine what would happen if we do a full-fledged session. So Nidhi, let's quickly take a look at the chat box. If someone has any questions, or someone wants to
Sure.
unmute themselves, we still have a minute. Anybody from
Yes,
the audience, if there are any
Shrutika.
questions,
Yeah, there
yes,
is one
Saurabh.
question. Yeah, there is one question in the chat box
Mm-hmm.
uh, from Nidhi Jain to Nidhi Bhandari. So she's asking, how do you prepare yourself to transit from technical writer to project manager? And how do you convey or onboard your manager for this change? And one more question is,
Mm.
what are the challenges you faced? So
Yeah, I think
maybe
we covered
you have
I
everything.
answered
think
for, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I think
Maybe
we've
you
yeah,
have
covered
answered.
both of them already. But Nidhi,
already.
Jan, if there is anything you really want to, want me to further talk about, please feel free. Otherwise, I think we've already covered this.
Yes, yes, I agree. We have covered,
Yes, yes.
she has three questions. Nidhi Jain has three questions, and we have covered all three of them in a lot of detail,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
So, Saurabh, any other questions? No, right?
No, no. Sonal is just thanking her for her detailed answer.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
yeah.
all.
So, Nidhi Sonal says, thank you for your detailed answer, very helpful.
Thank you, Sonal. I'm glad I could make that.
Anyone, before we close, anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask or say anything? Feel free to do that. No, I guess we covered everything. We covered a lot of ground, Nidhi.
We talk too
Um,
much.
no, I guess yeah, we did talk because this is what happens when two talkative people get together to host an interview. So I guess we covered a lot, and Nidhi, thank you very much again for spending valuable long weekend time, that too in the morning slot, and
Thank you so
explaining.
much for having me here,
Yeah.
Shruti. Thank you. It was great talking to you.
So Puneet, if you're here, I think we all have to we all have a lot of thinking to do after closing the session with all the insights that we have gathered today from Nidhi. So a lot of stuff for us to understand and think and then prepare if we all anybody here is looking to transition into project management or in some other fields like Nidhi explained at the end. So that's all. Okay, someone has put a question, I think. Sujoy is asking, Nidhi, do you need to still be do you need to put hand into review and writing, being a PM in technical writing? So I think we covered that also, that you do work on, you still take care of documentation.
Yes, yes, yes. You still have to, and you should. I would say, if you just sit as a manager, you would not know the ground reality. It is always
True.
good to get your hands dirty, work on things, then you would know better.
All right. So Nidhi, thank you very much.